from the fridge. Let's see what we're drinking today and see if anybody shows up. Sorry about the mess. Oh, you know what we're going to go for? The most unhealthy thing in the fridge, some Doritos. All right. Woo-wee! There we go. Just make sure I got nothing in my face. Gave my beard a nice little comb for you guys. All right. So today we go over more biomechanics. My buddy Luke had put out a response video, and he does chaos flow, I think it's called, and they have some very interesting theories that are very similar to Tai Chi, but they break a lot of rules. Some I disagree with, some I agree with. Okay. So going back into structure and how we maintain alignments and what the basic alignments are and all that kind of stuff. So you may have heard about 3 pillars and 6 harmonies, okay? I'm going to explain to you my take on it and my universal theory of martial arts here. So the 3 pillars usually refers to the vertical plumb line from your shoulder and hip girdle and the foot and your spine, okay? And we want to always have them in alignment with the North Star. So this is where our body is most efficient. We generate power by a controlled fall, right? Walking is a controlled fall. So I control the fall by keeping these 3 pillars in a line. I lean my head forward, and now I create this momentum loop, and I start catching myself. So you're going to see a toddler walk. They do teeter-totter walk. We saw that last time, right? So if I misalign one of these groups, I create another momentum loop that's outside of the linear path of travel. Because the whole idea is to focus my body weight and all my momentum into a linear point. So converging, if we think about, this is the base of a pyramid and the points are coming this way. So from here to here, to my heart, and from here to here. And everything's converging to this point, and wherever I'm hitting is at that point. Okay, now obviously we can change the angle of that pyramid, but that's really where, even if I'm throwing hooking punches, remember that energy from a sphere being kicked off always comes out linear. It becomes curvy linear only because of obstruction in the atmosphere and environmental conditions and buoyancy force, or I don't like to say gravity because gravity is a mathematical theory that can't be proven. But we can establish that buoyancy force is a thing and that we're in a fluid medium, which is air. But point being is I'm trying to get this geometric shape, okay, and like a tank, you're walking around like this. Now, these are guidelines because we're talking about statistical probability of success. How am I going to be able to produce the most amount of energy transfer with the least amount of energy lost and resistance, okay? So maintaining these perfect pillars is a very important thing. You see some martial arts everywhere. It's one of the most universal law. Then you'll see Tai Chi styles and other random styles that start doing weird misalignments, okay? Is it wrong? No, because like I said before, something that's inefficient can become useful, okay? You can have a bad technique that's practiced repeatedly can become good. And you see this in UFC all the time, okay? Like a lot of these guys, from a biomechanical standpoint, they're not anywhere near perfect, okay? A lot of them are sloppy fighters. But in reality, it's about getting the job done, okay? So there will be instances where you want to break alignment because something external happens that, but you don't want to be starting from a place that's dysfunctional. So I would never want to program, this is me personally, programming myself to do moves like this as a default. Now, there is a certain amount of leeway, okay? So, for instance, if I'm in my natural state where I have the 3 pillars aligned, these girdles can move a certain amount and not affect or displace my center of balance. But there comes a point where you reach a critical line where you go a little too far, and now that disbalances you, and you get a lock, okay? And that will basically, so for instance, if I'm rolling somebody off me, I can go to about here, but once I got past here, he can now use that tension line and grab me and do something with it. So these are things we try to avoid, okay? Now, when maintaining this three-pillar structure, if I wind up in a position where I wind up like this, by practicing this over and over again, I automatically want to take this back into a functional line. So that's the idea of the training. So it doesn't matter if you're doing classical karate, right? You'll notice my lines are perfect, okay? Like you want to have these lines as perfect as possible, so that everything I do is going to be in this frame. And then you'll see a lot of people will say techniques don't work, especially in the Tai Chi styles. Techniques don't spar me, see if techniques don't work. Okay? I guarantee you I will use nothing but standardized. It will look like I'm doing form, and I will lay you the fuck out. Okay? You're gonna tell me the techniques don't work. You see boxers, you see Muay Thai guys, you see all techniques don't work. But then you fight somebody who uses techniques and you get laid the fuck out every single time. Okay? And I would say that if you have one of these high-level, chi guys, and they can do all this push-hand stuff, if you put them against someone at the same level of internal skill who has the external hand set down, they can get wrecked every time. Somebody who knows how to use the handset like you would in Wing Chun, use Peng Lu Jian as a handset against someone who doesn't have it, there is no chance. Okay? Now going back to the three-pillar thing, when they say they don't use technique, this central equilibrium three-pillar concept is the technique. It literally is the foundation of everything. If you ever see the Adam Windsor guy or any of those people that you see on YouTube that do this stuff that say they don't use technique, I want to see them start from a place like this and then have them walk around like this and start doing their little chi style or little chi style stuff. So a lot of these esoteric philosophical arguments and debates, when you put them into practical world, they all fall apart. They all fall apart. Okay? So I like to make that clear that even though they're, we call them, rules in classical karate and stuff like that, because for us, it's a one-shot, one-kill system. It really is. We train it like a bolt-action rifle. Okay? So we have a chamber and a fire phase, a chamber and action phase. So, it's basic down block, right? We have our cover, guard, trap, elbow, which is our collect and chamber the round, and then we fire the round. Okay? We chamber the round, we fire the round. In Tai Chi, we do the same thing. I'm going to chamber a round, and I'm going to fire the round. I'm going to chamber the round, I'm going to fire the round. I'm going to chamber the round, I'm going to fire the round. I'm going to chamber the round, I'm going to fire the round. But if you notice, every single time I do that, the three pillars are coordinated. So then we go to this 6 harmony thing, okay? And what that really comes down to is your elbow, your hand and foot are a mirror image of each other. Your arms and your feet are literally, a foot is a hand and a foot upside down. So what we're trying to accomplish is to get the wrist and the ankle, the knee and the elbow, and the shoulder and the hip to work in unison. Okay? So a lot of the concepts that come from my alterations of my form come from this concept, first of matching vertical position. So if you see, I try to keep my elbow, my knee, and my wrist, and my ankle, and my shoulder, and my hip in a near same vertical position. Yes, they can deviate, but generally speaking, I'm trying to match the upper with the lower. No spar videos? I have a sparring video. Go look through my channel. I have 100-something videos. I have a sparring video. And there's more I could throw up, but I try not to mix stuff around because when I first saw the channel, I was, it's people are retarded. But yeah, there's a sparring video on my channel. You can see me sparring, doing classical karate, taekwondo type sparring. And there's more of those. But anyway, So my wrist, my ankle, my elbow, my knee, my shoulder, my hip, I want to not just keep them, first off in vertical alignment. So if you notice I do the from here, they're almost arriving at the same time also. There's a very small lag. It's that, like a whip, power style like a whip. But I want to make it look as if they're exactly at the same time. So it's a flam in drum. It's like, so in karate, same thing. My foot drops and then my punch lands. It's not together and it's not hand foot, okay? It's wave out, all right? But I want to make it appear as if it's the exact same time. So I'm here, that, okay? If you watch the vertical position, generally speaking, I try to keep the elbows close. Now there is some play. Now in classical karate, obviously we're moving the hand completely open and closed, okay? But our goal is to arrive at that place. So we have that 3-pillar, 6 harmony thing going on at the same time, all right? So the next thing to do would be just like to add the corkscrew like we talked about the last time. So we have, from your heart, you're trying to fold yourself in and then unscrew out, okay? So when I add all 3 of these components together, my form starts to look like more spirally than the average person's form. And you start to see like all these gears are turning at the same time. But if you notice my alignments, if you see I'm trying to, as best I can, to keep these 3 lines and these 6 together, okay? So that is really the case here. What you want to try to avoid is breaking those lines and programming that as a default, which I've seen a lot of people do in simple systems, and it's just allowing you to leave a hole. Same as when I was explaining that in the old styles, we don't throw roundhouse kicks like this. We throw roundhouse kicks like this, okay? So if I do it towards the camera, you're going to see the line is shoulder width on the 3rd pillar. I come up here, right? Why? Because I don't want to give you a chance to enter with the hole. So I'm going to come this way, and so I'm just going to step forward. Okay? So I throw a front kick, whether I throw roundhouse kick, whether I throw a side kick, they all come from the same place. So the reason for that is to not leave a gap in my defense. If I start doing this, you have an entry, right? So the same idea is if I break the 3-pillar protocol and I do this, I'm giving you a place to grab me. I'm giving you a hole in my balance. I'm making an extra opening. Now, I'm not saying this is times where it's not useful. There's times you have to do that. When you're wrestling, shit happens, okay? Someone throws a punch at you, and you cover and you block it, and they grab. You wind up with all that pressure. You sometimes have no choice but to do this roll. That's fine. But when you've trained the 3-pillar concept over and over again, you feel this, you immediately want to bring yourself back. Okay? You do not want to be starting from here. This can be a way to get back. Okay? Kind of how people explain using the 4 corner energies, side joke how the deficiency, you should be using breaks in the 3 pillars to cover for a deficiency and allow you to get back to that position, because that's your default. Alright? So if anybody has any questions at the time, I'm not going to really do a long video today. But that's basically that. So try to practice, when you're thinking this, really get this visual that from the folding part, it's called the girdle, or the guad they call it in Chinese, the girdle, the folding crease. I want to have that and the inside of my foot in a line. That's another detail, is when I teach the footwork, all I care about is what your big toe, ball, and the heel are doing on this line. The rest of your foot is inactive. The active part is only these 3 points: the toe, the ball, and the heel on this particular inside line, medial border. okay? So I'm going to place down and I'm going to spread my feet out. There's a piece of paper on the floor. I'm going to spread the paper. I want to rip the paper with my feet. And it's maybe 5 pounds of pressure. It's not a lot. That's the concept of what I'm feeling every time I step. Okay, so every time I step, I'm always on that inside. Okay, it's never going to be outside. I don't grip with my toes. I'm not saying that's wrong, but none of the style that I do teach that. All right. Now, the whole 6 harmony silk reeling and the corkscrew effect. What's a good? For instance, you see people do on like this push, or they'll do it right side for you guys, and they'll do this in a big circle with this, but there's no coiling. This was done to make the form more accessible to normal people, because this kind of coordination is not easy to get. Okay, so they kept dumbing down the form over the years. If you look at the very original, like Wudang styles or like the original Yang styles, there's all this corkscrew. Okay, it's a silk reeling thing that's been kind of hidden. In the Chen Manqing form, it's still there, but they minimize it to a point of accessibility. So you see this, I'm still coiling because I have to rotate my wrist, right? But it's minimal. It's as minimal as it, you see? Here it is again. Here it is again. Here it is again. Okay? Thank you, Ron. So, if I'm going from, let's just do on again. In my form, we'll do this side. Right? So here, I have a complete coil, and another coil, and I have another coil. And when actually, it looks like I'm arriving together, but when I make contact, it's pop, 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 pop. Okay? So there's actually this rolling effect that I'm looking to get. Now, I'm not going to get too much into this video because the whole idea was the 6 harmony 3 puller thing. But one of the tricks that I would use is the dotting pressure when you're playing push hands. So when I put my fingertips on, and I explained before in my video, it's called the fang and the mouth. So if a snake was to bite you, they hit you with the bottom of the mouth and the fangs come in. We catch the fangs and the mouth sets. This idea is what I want to. I don't want to hit something with a flat palm. I want to dot and then collapse, or collapse and then dot. And this is repeated in my form over and over again. One, because it gives me 2 strikes. Okay? So if I hit him in the eyeball, I can collapse it in. So for right now, this is a pretty hard shot. Okay? This is an hard shot. So at the end of my push, right, I've dotted, and now I'm going to seal back. So when I reach back, I have the dot. Heel, dot. I also have dot to heel. Okay? So stab and collapse. Reason I bring that up, when the body is trying to resist pressure, it usually can't deal with 2 impulses. The average person, high-level people can do this, but the average person, if you push them hard, then they can take it in the chest, but if you touch them and then push them, their body freaks out. Because what's happened is, your body wants to deal with the XY coordination of the axis when there's pressure coming in. So it starts to feel that first impulse and corrects that first impulse. There's a certain amount of brain lag. Like you're thinking about 30 frames a second. So most people who have not done push hands, when they get that double tap, they can't handle it. And you don't have to do it very fast. It's just you touch them, a little pressure, and then you push it. And you'll see that makes you a lot more effective just as a default to the average person. Again, the baseline techniques are not meant to deal with high-level ninjas. They're meant to deal with the uninitiated, people who don't train. The average person, I'd say 70-80% of the population, when you go to just push them, they can't handle it to begin with, right? They get, and they have to use a lot of muscle. Those people, if you do this, I guarantee you they're going to be all off balance. Okay? So I tend to use that in my form a lot. So here, and if you start to see the coils, these are brushing hits. Okay? So this 6 harmonies coiling thing, since I'm always grounded, I'm always using elastic collisions and basically this conservation of motion type of impact thing, where all my momentum and body weight transfers are constantly facing at the opponent. So, for instance, I come in here, I have pressure going out, okay? I have pressure going out, I have pressure coming, even though I'm going back, I still have that 28% pressure going out. I do my seal, okay? I'm still pressed forward, okay? Here's my other push. Now from here, I have the bottom heel, now I'm in the dot as I step back. So I step back, and now this equal opposite reaction force gives me my dot. Okay? Another thing is to recognize, this is something outside the scope of this video, is that a lot of these techniques in the forms a notebook, they're abbreviations. So when you see a two-handed technique, most of these in the original forms were not bilateral. They were not symmetrical. They weren't meant to be done like this. They were meant to be done like this. Pop, 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 pop. Box the ears. You see this move, right? Yes, you could do this. There's times to do it, symmetrically. But generally speaking, that's not what it was. Hey, what's up, Aaron? That's exactly true. So, what tends to happen and this is why I got part of this move from my buddy George at the meetups. When I do my brush knee, I don't do brush knee like this. Okay? I do brush knee. First I would do it this way. Okay, so it's spiraling in. Okay? The second way is to add this. Okay? So my brush knee is actually this and this at the same time. So it's 1, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Okay? So it's exactly what Aaron was just saying, is that again, my form is a collaboration of every single yang or Tai Chi form that there is, of every single person I've ever put my hands on that had a technique I didn't have, or that I was playing with them and I found deficiency in the form. Because to me, the form is a notebook that has to directly translate into real life events. And if it doesn't, what the hell am I practicing it for? So I'm not saying that, the parts of your form, no, I'm saying that every form, a form can be done differently and still be useful. But if your form is not useful to you, don't do it. That's my point. And Masashi would say, don't do anything that's useless. To me, this is, I'm not using all my weapons. It's a dishonor. Okay? I still have all these other planes of motion to be using. I still have all this other torque and all this other stuff to be using, I should be adding to my form. So, generally, young style form is done like this. I started doing it like this. Then it became this. Okay? And you can see this weird whipping, coiling action. Like a snake would wrap around a tree. So I'm trying to get that action and connect that to both the anterior and posterior oblique sling. So you have, from your thumb, there's a line of muscle that goes down this way to your foot, and then from your pinky, a line of muscle that goes that way, diagonally to your other foot. And what I'm trying to do is use them both at the same time. All right, so I'm trying to get this to happen at the same time. So when I'm on the top angle, you're on this sling, and I go to this side, you're on this sling. So I'm trying to get it so that no matter where you make contact with me, there's always pressure. There's always a hit. Okay? I said this the same thing with the drums. Instead of me doing this with my wrist every time, I can get up, down in one move with my wrist. So in one move with my wrist, I get 2 moves. Okay? The same idea. Exactly. I didn't make that up. The kicking thing's not me. That was from my teachers from Korea, okay? And the style that I did was the original style that they were teaching in the ROK Capital Division in Vietnam. I don't think there's less power. I think it's a different way of generating power because, I mean, look, I used to compete in competition breaking, and I always won. The only time I didn't win was when the judges came to me and said to me, you know, everybody knows you won, but we can't give it to you because the team from Germany is here. I mean, if you look at the power breaking era of Taekwondo, was in like 50s to 70s. Jun Rhee, Henry Cho, what's his name? Not Henry Cho, the other Cho. There's the whole era from Wong Kuk Lee, and that basically they all did the kicks this way, and they all were dealing with massive power. However, you know, I think it's a different way of getting to the power. I think it's more Tai Chi, okay, because you're relying more on momentum, coiling and torque, and timing rather than brute force, okay? So another thing is when you do the kicks in this manner, same as Tai Chi, you don't feel your power. Like I don't feel how hard I hit. As like, I try like a Japanese snap kick, I can feel like, okay, I have to really throw it. When I do it the Taekwondo way, I don't feel it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like if you're arm wrestling somebody, you feel your force, but if you're pushing a shopping cart, you don't. That's the same idea. So I'm not sure if it really has. I mean, I've knocked people out with a roundhouse kick with no problem. But you know, is it the speed that's doing it? I haven't really analyzed it like that. But I will say that the concept comes from the universal theory of 3 pillar 6 harmonies. So when we do the kick, obviously my setup's still in these 3 vertical pillars, and I'm not allowed to go outside them. Everything I do has to be in these pillars. Okay, so my range is here. Yeah, I can break the rule to certain degrees, but for the most part, this hand doesn't cross here and doesn't cross 90. Okay, so 90 degrees here to, what is this, 45, 35 here, depending on your shoulder placement. Okay, so this is the range of my arm. But for the most part, my opponent's in front of me, so I'm going to stick in this zone. Unless something comes from the side, I have to fire at. Or if I change position, I have to fire at the opponent who's on an off angle. But going back to the kicking thing of the 3 pillars, if I come up here, you don't see the move, right? You don't really see or have time to react to it. Whereas if I do a big like step out like Muay Thai and then pick my leg up like this, there's a huge hole. If you look at the older Baran styles, they do it like how I'm doing it. Okay, a lot of this is very, very similar. Remember, because a lot of these styles were adapted for sport context in the ring where you're not allowed to kick someone in the balls and judges need to see you and you gotta put on a show. The old styles didn't care about putting on a show, they cared about putting you down on the ground. Okay? So going back to the pillars, here's the pillar, right? But where's the 6 harmonies? So in the old style, everything you do has a specific place. So if I'm here, here's my first position, and then second position is this hand goes into a chamber or to a guard, and then this hand will follow the leg exactly, as if there's a tether on it. Okay? So, what was they saying? Maybe because I stay Tai Chi up thing. Yeah, exactly. But going back to the example of the 6 harmonies, when I throw a kick, I don't want one hand to be doing something outside the line. I don't want to be like this or like this. I want these to be in a line because they're counterweights. They're counterbalances on an axis. So if I throw, my hand weighs 15 pounds, my arm, 15 to 30 pounds, the hell it is. I weigh 20 pounds. So this section is approximately 20-something pounds, right? If I'm moving and I put this hand here, I have a 20-pound counterbalance pulling me away from the kick. So these geniuses said, we're going to do everything exactly on target so that when I shoot this kick, I'm going to coil and then push everything in the same direction. So I'm here and bang. Notice that everything comes to the same position. Enough room from here. So I'm here. See what I'm saying? Everything together. Everything together. So this is why I say Tai Chi and Taekwondo, it's the same thing. The difference is, okay, we're not kicking high. Will Tai Chi kick high? I don't know. I think this is pretty high. If you ever see the Tai Chi form competitions, like the World Cup, they're doing leaping kicks and fucking acrobatics. This is the weirdest thing about the young style Tai Chi community. It's like they negate half of reality to suit their worldview and their echo chamber. It's like the Tai Chi fast forms don't exist to them. Oh, I'm authentic young style, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, fine. So where's the saber? Where's the other forms? Where's the fast form? Where's the San Shao form? What's going on? You see what I'm saying? Like, what's going on, guys? So it's just not existent, right? So I'm going to attempt this year, because I didn't feel like I was, the qualified, sanctioned guy to be doing anything. I was doing it to, for my students and to show like some of the cool tricks and things that people were saying were bullshit. But I didn't feel like I was exactly the guy to be representing Tai Chi anyway. Specifically because I spent most of my time in hard styles. Even though now looking back, I've been doing Tai Chi for 20-something years. I still didn't look at it as my main thing. It was a side hustle. Okay? But I'm going to attempt this year to somehow put this together in a way that's packageable for the average person and to bring it in a way that's going to be more helpful than a deterrent, because it's like culty programming, and exit counseling, because these people are so delusional. Even the people who do it well, they've locked their mind to reality. And they're in this little echo chamber of it's a cult. It's multi-sectioned cells of little mini cults, and they all have this worldview, kind of like left-wing politics. Okay, it's the right wing too, but at least they mind their business and go to church, and the other ones are going and burning everything down. Point is, everyone's in a little cult. Okay, everyone has their little cult ideology. No one cares about reality. I just care about reality. So going back to this to review this thing, if I'm going back to Tai Chi form, I want everything to arrive and be mirroring these principles of 3 pillars and 6 harmonies. So my stability relies on me not breaking this barriers, okay? So there's a certain amount of deviation you're allowed to have, okay? Like my head can go a couple of degrees off in between these before I start to feel imbalanced. Because if I have my setup correctly, there's a certain amount of play that I'll have. What was this? Right, and I don't believe in this formless. I think people misunderstand it. When you're playing, if you ever play a musical instrument, and which you should, because if you want to be a master of the 5 excellences, you have to be some kind of musician. You get into a place where or typing, for instance, if you know how to type well, you're not thinking about the typing, okay? You're just actually doing it. Oh, you're a bassist. Okay, perfect. You understand what I'm talking about. You learn a scale, let's just say like a major scale or a pentatonic scale. You first learn it, you're doing the form, okay? And then when you start to go to a jam session the first time, you're thinking, oh, I need to play E pentatonic in the 3rd position on this chord, and you're doing the form, and it's working in an improvised environment, which is a fight. When you're in a jam session, you're in an improvised environment where you have to react to external stimulus and stay in the flow without breaking down, right? Same theory. In the beginning, you can use techniques, and you start to get really fast at techniques. Same as Street Fighter. All these guys who say, oh, the techniques are no matter. I guarantee you, put me up in a ring with them, and I will lay them the fuck out with technique. And I will fucking do it like a form, okay? Tell me that technique doesn't work. It's insanity. But then there comes a point where you've internalized a technique, and you can just type. Or you can just jam and you hear it, oh, and you don't realize what scale you're playing, you're just playing a freaking scale. And this is exactly what I was going to say. Most musicians can't, and that's another, like, what I can do in music, like improvising, is so out of the realm of most people they don't understand. They think it's like, they can't even accept it. And when they do it, and they see it, they think I'm an alien. And then they get scared, because like, what level is this guy on? And he can just walk into a session and just pick up and play. Like, like, what is that? Same thing with sparring, okay? When you've learned the techniques, like playing a video game, Street Fighter, you could do the Hadouken at the right time all the time. You don't think of the circle and the button, you're just going. That's the concept I don't think people understand. You're never formless. And what happens is so many people get into this level where their students are so uninitiated that they can make big mistakes and get away with them. And then they think because, well, that's the person that, I'm able to control them and blah, blah, blah. And then you watch them, and then the most fundamental things go bad. It's usually their feet first, okay? You'll start to notice they get tense in the middle back and their feet. It's the first thing I ever see with all these guys when they get caught, okay? But you're always using technique. That's the thing about Tai Chi, because Tai Chi is that's the weird thing about Tai Chi, that while, because again in Taoism, two truths can be running in parallel and still be true in non-conflict. So you can be using perfect technique, right? And have a square form, which is basically rigid 2 or 4 steps. Or you can have a round form, and the form is only one move. So when I teach the form in steps. Here's my 1, 2, right? I teach it in steps. But then if I showed you the circle, the whole form is now one long move. There's only one move in this form. Okay? I'm just doing this one continuous move. They're both correct. They're both correct. If that makes any sense to you. What's going on here? Taizu boxing and then fight from this. It's very similar actually. But the thing is, we don't ignore it. We just don't react to it. Because there's another conflict. The most important thing is to maintain the only constant in the universe is you. So if I'm sparring, and I was mostly a counter fighter, okay, a counter puncher, a counter attack. It's not that I didn't know how. It's just that most of the students are so, most people are so lower level than me that if I just attack them, they can't stop it. So when I'm sparring, I became much more of a counter. And then my personality is I am a peaceful kind of guy. I don't like to start shit, I'll finish it. So I really wanted to be like, that counter puncher type of thing. And also when I first started as a kid, going all the way back, Mike Tyson was a legend in my family. That's why I went to the box. And his whole thing is a very scientific form of counter punching. Okay? Meaning, you're going to use that person's attack to create an opening to attack while he's in mid-attack. Classical karate and Tai Chi are notorious for this. Is that I'm waiting for you, because again, in yin-yang theory, you make a move, there's always an opening. I'm waiting for you to present the opening. Now, let me digress. My state is the only thing I can maintain as a constant in this universe. Okay? Everything around me can change, but my internal state, either physically or psychologically, is the only thing that I can control. So the only preference I have is maintaining my the Mushin state, okay? Or the Wudi, whatever you want to call it in Chinese, okay? I'm trying to find that place where I'm stable. When it comes to the opponent, whatever they give me is fine. In military type tactics, you use environmental variables to your advantage. If the sun is out, you try to put the sun behind you to the right. Okay? So why? I hide my hand. Most people, I'm right-handed, right? I'm ambidextrous, but most people are right-handed. I put the sun behind me on the right, you get blinded, right? If there's wind and rain, I want to use that to my advantage. If there's mud, I'm going to throw it at you. Anything that happens outside of me is accepted as is. Now, maintaining my structure and state. If this is my zone, I used to explain to the circle of protection, right? In self-protection and street fighting, what I teach is that my range is my fingertips. Once someone's in my fingertip range, I can hit them. Okay? Be it with a long range technique or with one step, I can hit them and meet them. Outside of that is not my concern. It's my concern is when they get to this place. In a front facing situation, I'm only concerned of getting to here. Right? Because if it's outside of here, it doesn't help me. Now, if I'm going to block something, I just turn. That gives me the extra space off the center line to create the more space. But the idea is that I'm immediately want to track to this guy. So anything I'm going to do, I want to be in a position that not only am I always guarding, but I'm already tracking this dude. So why would I program myself? And I see this in push hands all the time, and high level guys, and I start doing stuff like this and all this weird shit. No, if he goes outside of my awareness bubble, my intent line should automatically act. So again, I've explained this as imagine a sphere suspended on a mobile coat rack where you have the wheels on the bottom of the stick, okay? And there's a sphere and there's a magnet. And the magnet is attached to a magnet behind your head. So there's a sphere coming at you and there's a sphere that's on this thing that rolls if it gets touched. If you don't touch the sphere, the tracking is still coming towards you. Does that make sense? So if it's not near the bubble, I have no reason to acknowledge it because it's not in my awareness field. That's the idea. In Taekwondo, same thing. If a guy goes to throw a kick and it's outside, I'm just going to step and let him kick air. If it's going to make contact, I just put my shield up and I let him run to the yellow. When we spar, we use the open hand. We use the palm. Okay, just disconnected. Okay. It'll look like I'm just tapping him. If you watch that sparring video, put it up. I'm not just tapping him. What I'm doing is as soon as I make contact, I open my palm and I route it from the heel of my palm all the way down to my leg. So he's running into a wall. So I put the wall up here and I step and I use that to kick off of. That's the concept. But again, I'm still maintaining the 3-pillar principle because that's where my posting comes from. So I hope that's answered your, or kind of elaborated on your statement. Okay? Any other questions? We'll be going. I'm trying to keep these under an hour because one, YouTube seems to not like long-form content, and but yeah, that's basically that. Most of it, the theory is the exact same. Whether I'm doing trapping and chisao like this, or if I'm sparring from distance, it doesn't matter to me because in my head, philosophically, we're never touching anyway. Nothing in reality ever touches. We're always isolated and disconnected because molecules don't ever hit each other, right? So we're never actually in contact anyway. So when I see you move and I see you do this, to me, there's a potential vector coming. I know as soon as you make this turn, something from this side is coming at me either this way or this way. So I'm going to react to that. Okay? And you have to watch in slow motion. If you pay attention to that sparring video and put it in very slow motion, you'll see the small footwork. It doesn't look like a lot, but I'm already positioning myself and disbalancing him because I'm feeling his intent line. Whether I'm playing push hands and he goes to push me here, or if I'm sparring and I see the roundness hit coming, the force line that's coming at me is exactly the same. One, I'm looking for a visual cue. The one, I'm looking for a kinesthetic cue, where he touched me and I can feel his pressure. The other one is I'm letting his motion tell me this line's coming. This one, I'm letting his pressure tell me this line's coming. It's all the same thing. But just to go back, I want to make this clear. Nobody that's high level can legitimately say that they're not using technique in the form as formless and techniques don't. It's nonsense. It's mischaracterization and it's misdirection of himself. And it's really bad. You know what I mean? I see guys who really understand these principles. I don't want to say, because I don't want to throw anybody on the bus who I think is helping people. But they get to a point where you become too philosophical, and sometimes you have to lift the fucking weight. People need to understand in the Tai Chi thing is you have to actually force the form. Oh no, I wasn't talking about, I was talking about like the common people, because 100-something people are gonna watch this video later, so I have to make it clear because some people are stupid, some people purposely go out of their way to misunderstand me. Okay? There's a lot of people who go out of their way to purposely misunderstand what I'm saying. Okay? Yeah, because they're jealous or they're envious or they're just mad because my position makes them look foolish. You know, and I can't help that, but you know what? Reality is, it's a martial art, and you can tell if you're doing it right by how many times you got punched in the face. And I'm still kind of pretty for my loud mouth. So I must know something. But, yeah, so the idea of this formless nonsense, everyone who's good has to be maintaining this 3-pillar 6-harmony alignment, and when they don't, everything fails. So I would say that all of the Tai Chi leads you to basically make the 3-pillar 6-harmony alignments the main technique you use, and everything is just ways of getting around to learn how to use these theories in weird positions, okay, or in randomized or many other positions, variable positions, you say, right? Because the whole form is just, you know, Pang Lu Jian Chai Zhou Ka, right? And it should be everywhere. So if I'm doing, you know, this one off left, this is not just this. Right here I have my elbow strike, okay? I have Lie, I have Ta, which is pluck, right? So everywhere I go, I have all 8 energies in it. Everywhere I go. Here's a Pang lifting up, here's On going down, I have my split break. So if someone has, let's just say their right arm is out, so for some reason they throw like a straight right, I'm able to slip it and catch it. I can grab this and do split and break his elbow. Yeah, exactly. It's the principles of the form. So the idea is that every single thing I'm doing, here's another elbow strike, shoulder strike, here's another Lie, right? Here's another pluck. So everywhere I go, I should be able to find shoulder, elbow, pluck, split, Pang, Lu, and there's a G because I have my compressing pressure, linear intent going forward. So every single place I go, I have all 8 energies at all times. At all times. So the 6 harmonies, you see what I'm saying, are always maintained, and the 3 pillars are always maintained, while the 8 energies, they're just manifestations of first duality, which is Pang, which is On and Pang. And it really comes from On. So once I start On, there's a rebound force, equal opposite reaction, creates Pang. Okay, so it's literally everything at once. It's everything at once. So I get so used to this typing these basic principles, it starts to look like there's no form. But my point is, when you see me do push-ins, you should be able to see there's still form. There's still form shapes. There's no reason for me to ever abandon the chess game. There's no reason that, oh, I can just use the internal. You could, but why not use the internal on top of the chess game? Why not have structural pieces, and then why would you purposely go out of your way? None of the high-level guys who everyone's talking about, and they say they're cult masters, whatever the fuck it is, none of them break those principles. And when you watch, you should be able to see, oh, that's an abstract version of Fair Lady. That's an abstract version of White Snake's Princess Tongue. This is an abstract version of a Repulsed Monkey or a Single Whip or something. Because while I'm doing the frame like this and big, when I'm actually fighting with, it's all going to be here. This is where the whole form happens. Okay? You're doing these big frames as a way to lift weights. Okay? So when I'm practicing the form for training, I'm practicing like this. I don't show people because I don't want them to see all my methods, right? But I'm practicing down here. Because this is weightlifting for me, okay? Does that make sense? This is difficult. So that when I come up to here, there's no resistance, so that I have all this extra power. Okay? But again, it should, the techniques and the handset should always be there. You should just hide them. All right? And then, you know, that's the whole idea of the dim mak, right? The death touch. Right? The whole idea is that I should be able to take my hand that way and drop it. I should be able to do it from right here also. Okay? I shouldn't have to do that to get that. That's the idea. So, now my intent on the form is that there's an open and a closed position, right? Or William Chang used to say sleep and awake. You go to sleep and then you wake up. I like to think open, close, open, close, open, close, okay? Because it's something I use everywhere. I use it in my entire life is compression, refraction, open, close. It's a breath of life, okay? Every single move I have has a forward intent, a killing intent. Everything, even if it's only at 4% on the dial, or the volume dial is 100, I'm doing the form with a level 5 out of 100 killing intent. So I'm here, I'm thinking, oh, he's coming to punch me, here's the frame, oh, I got stabbed in the eye, oh, he's grabbing me, I gotta throw him off, okay? But the idea is I'm using these harmonies, 3 harmonies, 6 pillows, 3 pillows, 6 harmonies, to get that power at all times. So my hands are always live. Even when I go into the sleep phase, I'm only 72% asleep. There's still some stability here. So if he runs in, he's getting run into a passive frame. And you can test this, and I explained this in other videos when teaching karate and blocking. We're not blocking with the hand, we're blocking with the humerus bone and the femur. So if you pick your hand up at 90 degrees, and you take your hand and you ram it into your elbow, this is not going anywhere. The idea is to get this to transfer to this, which reverberates to the biggest bone in your body. So I want that feeling all the time. All the time. So every single time, right from here, every single time I do the form, I'm thinking, here's my power's here, my power's here, my power's here, my power's here, my power's here. Okay? And I can only maintain that by following these 2 protocols. And it becomes an algorithm. All right? Any more questions or comments or accusations? Because I can geek out of martial arts for decades, guys. I'll be here for 5 hours rumbling my fucking mouth and no one's gonna listen. So, any questions, comments, or accusations? While I'm around. 52 minutes. Because I'll just keep rambling. Alright, you're very welcome. So I forgot to say the announcement. The Discord channel is now open. I'll put the link in the description below once YouTube finishes processing for 10 hours. You can find the Discord link in the About tab now and some of the last videos. Coming in, it's going to be cool. It's the second week. We got a couple decent members in already. The bot's pretty fun. And I'll be doing 1 free form lesson, in the month, and a free seminar to get everybody started once we get about 25 to 50 people. All right? So if you want to help out, I'm not asking for donations right now. Just put the word out. I can't. Obviously, you guys know that the entire system is corrupt. They're trying to make sure that it's basically an elitist class. And if the admins don't like you or they don't want to bring you into their circle, you don't get any help. So they're actively, pushing people around. It would be much, appreciated if you guys want to see more content. Tell everybody to subscribe, share the links, all that good stuff, and push the Discord out because that's where the cool stuff's gonna happen, right, guys? So thank you. I'll see you guys soon. Peace out.